BlizzCon is in just about a week or so from now. I got myself some tea, so let's talk about that. Now, obviously, the very first thing to note, right, is that everything that I'm going to mention in this video is going to be purely speculation. I mean, I don't have any insider information myself either. If I were to, obviously, I wouldn't be able to share that with you for obvious reasons. But more importantly, obviously, we only really have rumors floating around the internet right now, as well as some expectations. But take everything that I'm about to say with a grain of salt. Now, what I've done, I've made a list of notes right here on my phone. I want to talk about every single Blizzard project that's currently going on that we know about, so hopefully we're going to be at least reasonably accurate. And the very first one that I want to speculate about is going to be World of Warcraft. Now, judging by the previous years of World of Warcraft, it would make a lot of sense that they would announce a new expansion this year at BlizzCon. At the very least, if they would keep up the schedule that we have seen for the last couple of years. Now, obviously, there's a good chance that there's indeed going to be a new expansion, probably new information about the upcoming patch as well, but I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing a new trailer at the opening ceremony. I mean, as I'm sure many of you are aware, the opening ceremony at the very beginning of BlizzCon is usually the part where they announce the majority of their updates for the new year. So hopefully it's going to be as good as the last couple of years as well. But I think it would make a lot of sense if we do indeed see a new World of Warcraft expansion going into beta maybe early 2018 and then released sometime this time of next year. I think that would make a lot of sense. Now, as far as content goes, I've been looking it up for a little while. Normally there are rumors floating around the internet. And considering the World of Warcraft team is massive, the amount of people that work on that game is absolutely enormous. But there don't seem to be that many expectations for what the new World of Warcraft expansion is going to look like. The only thing that we really know for certain, obviously, is that Jaina is the front character on the new BlizzCon art for 2017. And that's about it. I mean, there are some rumors going around. Some people are talking about like the Emerald Dream, but it wouldn't really make a lot of sense with some of the previous patches in mind as well. Some people are speculating about like a Cataclysm 2.0 where the old world and the old content will once again get revamped. I would be quite interested in it as well, even though I haven't played WoW in a little while. I do come back occasionally when new content is available. So I think we can indeed expect a new World of Warcraft expansion with almost like 100% certainty. Obviously, it doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but I do think it makes a lot of sense. As far as my own personal wishes go, please, and I know this is probably like very, very unlikely to happen, but please make Murlocs a playable race. I mean, how awesome would that, to have a Murloc as your character? I can already imagine playing like a Murloc mage or whatever. That would be absolutely incredible. I know it's very unlikely, but I would be very much up for that. Maybe we're also going to be seeing some new information about legacy servers. This was like a big talking point about a year or so ago. It does look like Blizzard doesn't really, want to necessarily talk about that much because, essentially legacy servers were servers like vanilla World of Warcraft used to be. So essentially what the original WoW looked like when the game first came out. And, they shut down a bunch of the private servers and whatnot. So, there were some rumors going around that Blizzard may want to do that themselves as well. But I honestly would be very surprised. But, it's the internet. People are rumoring about it and spreading rumors about it. Rumoring is not a verb, Loko. Doesn't really matter though. Next up, let's talk about Hearthstone. Now, obviously, Jaina being the front character on the key art this year doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be World of Warcraft related. It could also have to do, of course, with good old Hearthstone. I do think it makes a lot of sense if they're going to announce either another expansion or an adventure. I mean, they've been regularly releasing those over the course of the last couple of years. I would honestly be more surprised if they don't announce a new adventure for Hearthstone. And I do think it makes a lot of sense if they're going to be, making one of these major announcements as well during the opening ceremony. Now, there were some rumors floating around the internet for Diablo 3 for a little while, and I was really excited for it because people were talking about potentially the release of the Druid class. Obviously, we did see the Necromancer being added to the game, I don't know exactly how long ago, maybe about 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago? I don't know exactly, but regardless, obviously people were very happy about that, but it took quite some time before that character was released as well. Then apparently there were some hints in the game for a potential Druid release too, but recently the official Diablo sub forums made a post, one of the developers did, and they essentially communicated that no one should really get their hopes up for Diablo this year for BlizzCon. That does make me wonder though, because I remember very clearly I believe it was Frank Pierce last year at the opening ceremony that clearly mentioned that Blizzard was, you know, for Diablo for the long run. Like, they were going to look into Diablo for the long run as well. And he said that last year during, you know, one of the Necromancer announcements, and then also the, you know, the retro event that they had running there for a little while. Considering there's no announcement for Diablo this year, I really wonder what they've got in store for us and what these guys are currently working on. I mean, obviously, if you've got a bunch of developers working on Diablo 3 and they aren't currently working on Diablo 3, they must be working on something else, right? And it does seem like Blizzard is not necessarily shrinking. It seems like they've hired 1 billion people over the last couple of years. Okay, maybe not quite 1 billion, but they have hired probably hundreds of developers. So I don't really know exactly what Diablo is going to look like, say, a year or so from now. But I think for now, we probably shouldn't be getting our hopes up, although I personally wouldn't mind seeing a Druid class. I think that would be pretty cool. Now, on that same note as well, is there a chance for a potential Diablo 2 remastered? So obviously we recently saw Starcraft Remastered release, which by the way is awesome, really liking that one. But on top of that, essentially the team that worked on Starcraft Remastered is now called the Classics team. If you go to the jobs hiring page on the Blizzard website, there's basically an overview of positions available, and they were hiring people for the the Classic teams as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's gonna be either a remastered announcement of maybe Diablo 2, although they've mentioned in the past that it's apparently rather tricky to do, but regardless, if they really wanted to, I'm sure they could. But there's a good chance that they're going to be announcing a new remastered title, be it like Rock and Roll Racing, be it like the old, the Three Vikings, the Lost Vikings, be it, Diablo 2, be it Warcraft 3 even, although that probably is the most unlikely one. I would be very much so up for that, and obviously at this point we don't really know. But I do think we can expect, if there's anything Diablo related, I think we can expect maybe like a Diablo 2 remaster. Maybe? It's probably too soon though. It's hard to say. As far as StarCraft goes, now I do know a couple of things regarding StarCraft. Sadly, of course, I can't share those with you. A couple of things that I am really curious about seeing though is going to be a potential other like mini campaign like we have seen for the Nova Covert Ops. I don't actually know if they're currently working on something like that. There's been rumors floating around the internet that they haven't really been wanting to do those for a little while. But I would not be against, like, for example, like an Alarak mini campaign or something. That would be sick. I mean, remember the 9 missions for Nova Covert Ops? If there would be like an Alarak mini campaign as well for like 9 episodes, or maybe like an Abathur or Zagara one. That would be really good. And if there's ever going to be like a StarCraft 3 in the future, it would probably, with the ending of StarCraft 2 in mind, right? It would be able to like take the story into the next level without like, having no actual, storylines to really build up on anymore. I mean, it's obviously a little bit odd to continue once again with like Jim Raynor and Sarah Kerrigan or whatever. I would be very surprised if that turns out to be the case, but I think building characters like, for example, Alarak Abathur wouldn't only be good for StarCraft 2's popularity. I mean, I think that would be incredible. But last but not least, I also think that it would be really good, with the future of StarCraft in mind, to continuously build up those characters. I would personally love it at the very least. So I don't know if this is going to happen, by the way, but I would love that. As far as, of course, the World Championship Series goes, because I know that a lot of you are indeed wondering about my predictions for the WCS Grand Finals at BlizzCon. My personal favorite to win the entire event this year is going to be, unsurprisingly, Innovation. I think Innovation in StarCraft 2 has probably been the most dominant player of all time. But then again, I would say about half of the guys that are currently at BlizzCon, and obviously some of the matches have indeed already been played of the round of 16, and my predictions have been horribly wrong so far. So, take that with a grain of salt. But, about half of the guys that can participate at BlizzCon can also win the event, right? There's guys like Hero, there's guys like Stats, there's guys like Neep, there's going to be Dark, Sue, Rogue, obviously you've got TY, Innovation, there's a bunch of really, really high-level players at BlizzCon, and I don't think that anyone would be surprised if any of those would end up winning the entire thing, but I think the safest bet, and obviously I am, I'm cheering for Neep, and I'm cheering for several, but I think the safest bet for winning the entire thing is going to be Innovation, although it would be the sickest story, though. Imagine Neep winning BlizzCon. That would be incredible. I don't know, but, we'll see. I'll keep an eye out for it. I'll let you know on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the whole shebang. So make sure you follow me down below. I'll post links to my social media right there. But regardless, I'm up for it. Now, let's talk about Overwatch for a little bit. There's going to be, obviously, announcements for that game as well. Overwatch seems to be the new you know, the new big thing as far as Blizzard goes for the last 2 years or so, I think, right? Is when they first announced that. It seems to have blown up in popularity. The game is running very well. I think we can expect like a new hero and probably a new map as well. I don't think that's too surprising at this point, right? Like, for example, what they had with Sombra last year, and then obviously we had the robot as well throughout this year. I wouldn't be surprised if you see another hero announcement at BlizzCon this time around. Now, there's a couple of rumors going around with a potential, like, television series with Overwatch-related characters. I don't know if that's gonna be true. There's some rumors going around with, like, an Overwatch single-player campaign. I mean, I would love that. Imagine that. How cool would that be? I think that would be absolutely incredible. But once again, those are just rumors. I would really love to see something along those lines, because I do feel like, you know, having just multiplayer, obviously it's great. Overwatch is a lot of fun, but I would like to see a little bit more about the storyline and the storytelling through like a campaign myself, although I can imagine a campaign is a ton of work. I mean, how are you going to do a campaign with like that many characters? I don't know exactly how many heroes there currently are. Would you have to do like a mini campaign for each and every one of them? But if there's a company that can do it, it's definitely Blizzard, so, you know, we'll see exactly what the plans are. Heroes of the Storm. There's some rumors going around with a Warcraft-related event. I could find some articles and some Reddit posts talking about that. There's probably going to be a new event announcement, just like we have seen for Diablo in the past, and then of course for Starcraft and whatnot as well. I do think that it's going to be, you know, it's definitely going to have some new maps and some new heroes that will be announced. I don't think that would be all too surprising. I wonder if there's going to be any major overhauls. We have seen a big focus in 2017 at the very least on Heroes of the Storm. Blizzard has been pumping a lot of money into that game, and they've been trying to develop it to really compete with the other, you know, MOBAs out there as well. I don't really know exactly how happy everyone is with the results. I personally do watch quite a bit of professional Heroes of the Storm myself. It's a lot of fun. It's a great game. Obviously, I play it as well, but yeah, it's hard to say exactly where that game is going to go from here on out. I mean, obviously, it's going to be supported for the future, but how much is going to be invested into the game for the next year, or is Blizzard going to focus on other, you know, IPs instead? I really don't know. I really don't know. I guess we'll find out once again, right? I'm hyped for it, man. I'm really looking forward to the event. And then, you know, there's some rumors around as well for, like, you know, a Warcraft 4 or a Starcraft 3. Okay, here's the thing, right? I've seen a lot of people talk about this. Mainly because I obviously talk to a lot of people that, you know, like RTS games. But here's the thing. Sure, Blizzard wants to have a 100% market share when it comes to popular RTS games, right? I mean, essentially at this point in time, StarCraft 2 is the end-all be-all RTS, right? But also Blizzard doesn't really rush out any games. I mean, if the past has been, you know, any indication, obviously that would mean that there probably won't be a follow-up for an RTS for not a little while. Now, what we do know is that sometime last year, a lot of the big developers that worked on like the original StarCraft and StarCraft 2 and Warcraft and a lot of other, you know, popular RTS titles in the past, that they have essentially all started working on like an unannounced project at Blizzard Entertainment. Now, of course, we have seen projects in the past, like for example, Project Titan, that eventually turned out to be Overwatch, but that took like 8 years or something stupid like that. Like, it took like 8 years before we heard anything back from that. So I think it's a little bit too early right now to make any guesstimations for what that is going to be like. Personally, I would love to see either a Warcraft 4 or a Starcraft 3, or like any, you know, other related RTS game. I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. I don't think that would be all too surprising at all. I mean, I would I would love to see something like that, but I think that this year's BlizzCon is just simply too early. Maybe we can talk about that next year, but I think for this year's BlizzCon, it's just a little bit early. I would love to see that, but, you know, kind of depends. Also, a brand new IP, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be a brand new IP. I think that considering there's now, you know, Warcraft, Starcraft, Diablo, Overwatch. Am I forgetting one of them? I don't really know exactly, but regardless, I think there's more than enough story and world right there. If they're going to be focusing on a new IP and just sort of let the Diablo shrivel away, that would be kind of odd. I don't think so. I don't think there's any necessity for that either. Maybe, you know, continue building on Overwatch. Now, one of the big things that I haven't really seen people talk about, and this is something that I personally do feel really strongly about, right? If you think about video games, let me put my phone away. If you think about video games, right, and where money can be earned, right? Say you're a major developer, right? Say you're a Valve or a Blizzard or you know, an Ubisoft or EA, whatever, right? Say you're a major developer. And you're looking at the market and you're like, where can I earn money? Because let's not forget about the fact that obviously these companies are here essentially to obviously earn a profit, while also obviously, you know, entertaining people. Regardless, they're not charities, believe it or not. A lot of people seem to want the handouts, but they're not quite charities. Anyway, where would the money be, right? Now, what we do know is that Blizzard ended up buying King, I think about a year or two or so ago, essentially one of the premier mobile developers. And when you think about it, I think there is a massive, massive opportunity for game developers to work on mobile titles. I mean, yes, we have seen some of the premier developers work on like companion apps with their existing games, or, you know, we've seen some of them focus on like, you know, remakes of old classics, you know, on mobile as well. But very few are actually developing something with mobile first in mind. I mean, imagine like a phone-related RTS game, right? Like, for example, Clash of Clans. I think Clash of Clans is probably the best, or what's it called? Clash Royale and Clash of Clans are probably the best example of like strategic, focused mobile games. I mean, those are massive, massive games at this point. There's a lot of money to be earned. I think it would make a lot of sense if, imagine like a strategic-based game in the Overwatch universe that you can play on your phone. And I know there's obviously Hearthstone on your phone, right? And that plays out a little bit differently. But I think it would make a lot of sense if they're gonna be working, or maybe even announcing at this year's BlizzCon, like a mobile-first experienced game that maybe has some, you know, obviously some companion stuff on the web instead, or like, you know, maybe on a PC app as well. I don't know. I would definitely invest my money into that if I were a AAA developer, because obviously, if you've got the resources available and you know that there's a potential massive return on investment, and even though you focused in the past on a lot of hardcore games, I think your player base will probably accept it over time, and you will be able to, you know, you will be able to make a massive profit. Imagine a really sick game, right? I mean, imagine like a Starcraft related game. Doesn't necessarily have to be a shooter or an RTS or anything along those lines. I mean, obviously, I'm not a developer. But imagine like one of those games, playable in a more basic form on mobile. I would play that. I would play, you know, that non-stop. If I'm on a commute, or I'm, you know, sitting in a train, or I'm waiting, you know, on a plane or whatever. Like, if I'm doing anything outside of my normal home setup, I'm going to be playing that a ton. And I think there's a massive potential there. All right. I think that's about covers it. I mean, there's obviously also talk about like a potential like Warcraft movie. There's like a talk about then the Overwatch television series as well. There's a whole bunch of different things going around. I guess only time will tell. I've been blabbering about this for much longer than what I had anticipated already. Now, a couple of last notes to make for now. I'm flying out on Monday myself. I will be in California for about a week, and there's actually a really exciting announcement that I am finally able to share with you right now as well, as I'm gonna be joining the broadcasting team at BlizzCon as a roaming reporter. So I'm not quite going to be a caster for Starcraft 2 or anything along those lines. Obviously, those positions have been set up for a little while. Instead, you're going to be able to find me on the online live streams where I'm going to be, you know, going around the venue. Essentially, the entire idea of a reporting, or of a roaming reporter rather, is that besides all of the panels that you have at BlizzCon, there's a lot of other stuff going around as well. Besides the panels and the esports and whatnot, there's like cosplay, there's the courtyard, there's the Dark Moon Fair. There's a lot of cool things happening at BlizzCon that don't necessarily always get shared. So essentially it will be my job to take a camera team, I suppose, and go around the venue, talk to fans, talk to developers, you know, hang out at the Dark Moon Fair, look at the cosplay stuff. I mean, there's a lot of cool things happening at BlizzCon, and I've been fortunate enough to actually get this this opportunity right now to actually join the broadcasting team. So that's going to be something mostly new for me. I am really hyped for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you are going to be watching, I think it's mostly going to be under the virtual ticket. But regardless, if you're going to be watching the live streams for BlizzCon, you could probably expect to find my face there, which is really exciting. So I'm going to be in the US for about a week. That does mean, of course, that I'm not going to be streaming for about a week. I mean, I guess you can expect that part. But I have, of course, made videos in advance over the last couple of weeks. I've been working my butt off to try and make sure that I've got near daily videos going live for the time that I am away. So that is going to be a lot of fun. And last but not least, you're probably watching this on my birthday. I mean, I'm recording this right now and it's the 28th. This video is scheduled to go live on the 29th. So that means that, you know, Sunday, tomorrow, is going to be my birthday as well. That means that today, I'm going to be doing a birthday-related live stream. I've been blabbering on for far too long already. I still got to edit this video as well, but I hope you think that I'm at least reasonably accurate. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know down below in the comment section what one release you would personally love to see? All of the speculation and everything aside, what one thing would you love to see from Blizzard, and how likely do you think this will indeed be happening at BlizzCon this year? Let me know down below. Anyway, for now, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Massive shout out to, of course, all of the Patreon supporters as well. You guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for your continued support. But other than that, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day, okay? Do not forget to smile, and I'll see you in the next one.